And I was absolutely hooked.
What's up? What's up? Welcome back to the Wild Business Growth Podcast. This is your place to hear from a new entrepreneur or innovator every single Wednesday morning who's turning wild ideas into wild growth. I'm your host, Max Branstetter, founder and podcast producer at Max Podcasting, and you can reach me at max@maxpodcasting.com to save time with your high-quality podcast. This is episode 1 to the 4 to the 3, and today's guest is Jeff Snyder. Jeff is the founder and chief inspiration officer of Inspira Marketing Group, one of, I would say, the coolest companies ever out there. They do awesome stuff in the experiential marketing space. I mean, breakthrough activations that you've never even conceived of before. And in this interview, we talked how to come up with breakthrough ideas, how to stay true to your purpose as a company, and stay inspired, stay enthusiastic, as Jeff knows extremely well. And we talked beer. Lots and lots of beer, and also a beer or two. It is Jeff, and it is Inspira. Enjoy the show. Alrighty, we are here with Jeff Snyder, the Chief Inspiration Officer, founder of Inspira Marketing. Just a super inspirational dude. I didn't butcher that at all. Jeff, thanks for joining. How you doing today?
I'm doing fantastic, Max. Thanks so much for having me on today.
Of course. Well, thank you so much for coming. And we're going to get into your story, which is just amazing. And before we get into that, shout out to our mutual buddies, Brendan O'Mara, who I used to work with, and I know you've worked closely with over the years, and some members of your team, Brooke Stein and Joe McConville, I'm sure I pronounced that right as well, but we did some Little League activations back when I was on the Snuggle team back in the day. So lots of great memories there. So shout out all those guys.
Oh, that's fantastic. I owe Brendan another glass of bourbon we'll share to toast one another after this.
Exactly. That's everybody just owes Brendan bourbon. I'm not sure how that happened. Just there's always drinks with Brendan.
That's so great.
So on that alcoholic beverage note, you actually got your start at Boston Beer Company. What was that like working in a young and growing brewing company at the time where craft breweries were, I would say, somewhat of a smaller industry than they are today?
Yes, it was incredible. At the time I started off as a promotion manager and promoting bars and nightclubs down in Washington, D.C. And one of the nights I featured this small little brewery out of Boston called Sam Adams, and got a chance to meet some of the folks there. It was really sort of in a startup mode, really quick growth, and they had some opportunities that were opening up in the Washington, D.C. area. So I had a chance to jump on at a very, very early start. Now, you have to remember, back then, this was an era that was dominated by imported beers. And really, these microbreweries that were coming up were a very, very small percentage. But what an incredible ride for the 3 years that I was there, just to see adoption and really being able to build that brand through the on-premise, literally just one customer, one bartender at a time. It was a great experience.
And what were people's reactions to this young up-and-coming local beer when you compare it to the crazy big imported beers? And obviously there's the whole like Budweiser, Miller, like that whole side of the beer world.
Yeah, it was incredible because, we actually had a heavy lift. Believe it or not, because a lot of the imported beers were so popular back then, people really felt that kind of skunkiness taste to it was quality. And really this Sam Adams, brand proposition at that time was all about freshness, quality of ingredients, really this amazing taste. There was an education portion of this to really kind of get people to adapt and sort of evolve to their taste buds to really kind of lean into this. Just, I think once you really kind of got the converted, they were probably our best advocates to go out there and really kind of help promote that story. And it was just such an incredible ride. Again, when you're seeing triple digit growth, month after month, to seeing where this in, it was great. I will tell you, to this day, I have such a warm place in my heart for that beer. Still think it's just such a quality beverage.
It is. I think we can just talk beer this entire time. So if you're cool with it, we'll just, scrap the Inspira story. We'll just stick to no. But I think any beer fan would think it's pretty cool to work at a brewery at some point in their life. What is something about the beer world that really shocked you once you got into the nitty gritty?
At the end of the day, look, you're out there really kind of competing for share of mind, for share of wallet.
Were you about to say share of mouth?
I was about to say that, but I was like, you know what? That probably is not going to play very well. So share of wallet. Does that sound a little bit better, Max?
Hey, I'm all for, shares of anything.
But so, at the end of the day, look, you're really out there. It's a very competitive environment. At the same time, we used to always say like, hey guys, it's beer. And so it was really close knit. So even though that you were out there really fighting for every tap handle and every package placement that you could, it really was just a great group of people that you meet through with it from competitive by day, but you could still sort of sit, elbow to elbow at the bar, later on. I will tell you that we still to this day as an agency have, beer within our portfolio. So it's just incredible to see how often the landscape changes, right? So it went from, craft beers taking over the imports and then really sort of the death of craft beers and now seeing the resurgence again. So you're just constantly, innovating. And it really just is one of the most fun, wonderful places to play from a marketing perspective.
I think the death of craft beers is like the next Star Wars movie. I think we should partner on that. So let's get to the Inspira story. Before even starting the company, at some point, something pulled you into the experiential marketing space. What was that?
Probably like a lot of recent college grads, I would say, and I'm doing air quotes here on a podcast, but I test drove.
Well done.
Well done. I test drove a lot of careers to find out what I didn't like. And that was a great learning experience, right? You think that you have all the answers when you're in college, and when you get out to the real world and actually do the job itself, it's just not quite as fulfilling. I stumbled into this world and I got a job with GMR marketing. And honestly, like I never knew it existed. If you asked me about what marketing was, it was what you see on TV of, people walking around big conference rooms, just pitching ideas to come up with new TV spots. And when I landed with GMR marketing, I was like, oh my God, I can't believe that this is actually an industry. And I was absolutely hooked. I just loved figuring out what it is that surprise and delights and excites people, and how can we create experiences to really sort of put people and brands in situations where they fall in love with one another. Honestly, once I got a little taste of it, I was completely hooked, never looked back, and have been in the business now for well over 25 years.
For anybody who's not familiar with Experiential, what is it?
Yeah, I will tell you, it's a very it's a hard thing to define. I'll say that.
exhibited by that sentence.
Yes, well, exactly. Like it's difficult to say. my dad still says, "You're into that experimental marketing, right?" So yes. But experiential marketing really allows, I think, unlike a lot of other marketing mediums, experiential marketing really allows opportunities for consumers to get very immersed into what a brand stands for in a very meaningful, multi-sensorial way. I think a lot of times when people think experiential marketing, it might be the Coachellas or the sports sponsorship activations that you see at the NFL or NASCAR races. But really, it's sort of the intimate gathering where you're putting people into situations to engage with a brand on a much deeper and meaningful level. Unlike most mediums, it's also two-way. We put a very heavy emphasis in our people, in the brand ambassadors, the spokespersons for the brands itself, highly educated. And it really allows sort of that two-way dialogue and for them to just get really sort of immersed into why this is a brand for them. It's a very kind of broad stroke because it does play into so many forms and fashions, whether it's mobile marketing or one-on-one or trade. But, for the most part, it's something that I can say brings excitement and energy every day. No day is alike, and you're constantly evolving of thinking through how we're going to be able to break that through that clutter and really kind of create that stickiness with our customers out there.
Yeah, I mean, it's exciting just thinking about it and knowing the amazing activations that you and team do. When you think about experiential or experimental marketing, what would you say the biggest benefit overall is? One, for the brands, and two, for the consumers that, participate in these things.
The common thread between both of those is just engagement. There's such a heavy emphasis these days on digital, and you think through TV, and everyone talks in lingo like, well, the impressions. What we're able to do, you can't really say a banner ad or a 30-second TV spot is equivalent to someone coming into an immersive experience for Jeep that we have at the X Games, where the average dwell time is 29 minutes. That people are coming in, they're sitting through a multi-sensorial 4D, 360-degree experience from a visual perspective, and they're meeting athletes inside and have photo ops and engaging, or sharing a bite at our Waffle Hut. All these different levels where you're kind of building into these cues to really kind of help curate a very sort of immersive experience. They are engaging with that brand on such a deeper level, outside and unlike any other medium. And, to us, it's just the holy grail that when you really think about, okay, what is it that a brand stands for? What is the brand at its absolute? And now as we look through sort of that target audience, what really fires them up? What are they seeking, and what is something that they're searching? And when you start to infuse that and really allow the creativity as to what type of experience can we curate and design that is going to have people build such an emotional connection with this brand, unconsciously they know that this is a brand for them. This speaks to them and is really part of their lifestyle. And I think that's just where we try to strive from a creativity perspective to be every day as we approach it. And we know that experiences come in many forms and fashion. So it's not necessarily just these large splashy, but really kind of thinking through all the touch points throughout that journey as to how the brand can show up, just demonstrate how they can be part of their lives.
I'm going to need to cut you off, Jeff. I think that 29-minute dwell time, the immersive experience, I mean, that's the same thing you can get from a single tweet.
Exactly right.
It's the same exact thing. No.
It's just missed it by that much.
Exactly. What shifted in you personally that made you go from working at other companies to want to start your own company?
Yeah, I think the biggest shift, again, I kind of dated myself by saying that I've been in this industry now for 25 plus years.
Oh, no. I feel like I'm talking to a toddler.
Well, at the early stage of my career, I will say that we really would almost as an agency would wait for creative direction to come from the lead advertising agency. And they were really kind of charged with marching orders of developing the overarching campaign and messaging. And then maybe there was a promotion agency that would determine what they were focusing on that quarter. And by the time that it got down to us from an experiential perspective, it was like, okay, how can you really riff and activate off of all these other elements that are in place? The shift for me was sort of seeing that, unlike other mediums, we were closest to the customer every single day. Every interaction was a relevant touch point that we could learn more about these people, and really used every opportunity to dimensionalize them and really almost train our people to become ethnographers of really kind of finding out what's the right tone, how are we going to communicate, how are we going to engage with them. For me, the big shift was, why did I have to wait for an advertising agency that was doing focus groups with 10 or 15 people in a room to then determine what that campaign was, where I had an opportunity to talk with thousands? That should be driving the creative, and that should be driving, the actual campaign development. And really that's what led me to really kind of starting out there, that I wanted to kind of shift and pivot the entire model on its head and really lead with experiential and use that as an opportunity to garner those insights and then have that drive what that creative strategy would be and how we're going to show up every day.
It's a really unique and just really cool perspective. Anybody who's kind of had experience in that line of work and market research knows just how long it takes to do a bunch of different kind of focus groups like that and ethnographies, things like that. You do experiential, you do things where you're seeing lots of people, hearing from lots of people. It's much more rapid, and I know you have a crazy amount of data and feedback from the technology standpoint now, which is just amazing. When you think back to figuring out what the brand would look like, what this agency would actually look like, do you mind sharing kind of how that came together?
Let me focus on what you first said was, the ability to react in real time is absolutely game changing. I can't stand when agencies go back and talk about, well, this is what worked and this is what didn't. And next time we'll be able to do, this. Because that we are out there every day, we're able to really just track and monitor that real-time feedback and pivot. So a lot of times we'll start campaigns off thinking maybe that this portion of brand education is most important, but when we get out there, people really don't care the fact that it's organic or, all natural, but they might be really interested in, some element and aspect of it. And the fact that we can kind of take that insight and within 3 days, then transform what the narrative is going to be and training for the staff and really even some of the different signage elements is great. We are constantly pivoting and course correcting along the way to completely optimize that experience and ensure we're at our best. From an agency perspective, the ability to constantly innovate and reinvent is also equally exciting. You can imagine just with technology, with some of the tools that we have, and then also being able to take these consumer insights, we are constantly able to stretch and grow and dream about what's possible. I will tell you that this industry and just as a whole is moving so fast, and it is just incredibly exciting.
It is. I mean, when an industry is changing like that, it adds such a difficult but also exciting challenge to stay up to date and continue to innovate and see where you can be at the cutting edge of things. What was it that allowed you to get some early momentum and start winning clients?
Yeah, I think when we first started off, look, timing is everything. And I will tell you, I had the worst timing to start March of 2008. So it was the biggest financial crisis that we had.
You couldn't have written that up better.
Yeah, exactly. It was like, oh, perfect, right? This will be great. I left my previous agency and I wanted to do it in just the most honorable fashion, in which case, not only did I, walk away from all of the clients that I was working on, but I also gave my, former business partner also my prospects that I was working. So I really started this agency in 2008 with nothing. I mean, like no prospects, no leads. Little did I know that it was also going to be in one of the worst economic times in the last many decades. In the early days, we were fighting and scraping for anything that we could get. But I think thankfully, having been in this industry for a long time, and I think a decent reputation out there from a deliverable standpoint, we were able to build trust and really start to scale the company. I will tell you that to this day, at least 80 or 90% of our business growth comes from referrals, and it comes from satisfied clients that either they'll go to other companies or they'll at least kind of share our name and resources with some of their peers. That continues to just be a great source of business for us of kind of growing. And we're really proud of that. And also, I think the longevity that we're able to build with some of our client partners.
That's great to hear. I mean, referrals, word of mouth is everything. When I was starting MaxPodcasting, my podcast production business, literally the same exact thing, like it was built from the ground up off of referrals. Like and when you have a podcast or you're doing something that's really helps with building your network, it was so super helpful to reconnect with old podcast guests and just like catch up. And next thing I know, I have people sending all sorts of different people and cool companies my way. And that's literally like how the business was built. In terms of those clients, I mean, you mentioned Jeep, and I know you work with some of the biggest names, some of the biggest brands out there. What was the step that got you to work with those kind of quote unquote, we'll do some more podcast air quotes, A-list clients?
Yeah, I think we were very humble in our right. I didn't want to necessarily have to rely on examples of my past work. So a lot of the opportunities that came with some of these larger clients really started as a very, very small project and initiative. And, one that maybe a lot of the larger agencies wouldn't even take just due to the size of it. But we really kind of created a culture here of constantly over delivering. We're very, very performance driven. But we're also like good guys. Like we're nice, we're good to work with. And we want to see them succeed. And we really try to make it very, very easy to work with and also, drive those results. So when we're given an opportunity with a Jim Beam or a Diageo or a Bic or a Nestle.
I was going to say, we just keep going back to alcohol, which is totally okay with me.
Yeah. How about this? Next time we'll do this in person over a pint of Guinness that we have in the bar about 10 feet from here.
Perfect. Exactly. That sounds great. Now I'm just salivating on salivating, and I might have just booked my next trip to Dublin.
But I'll tell you, so Guinness, this is a great story. We had an opportunity to pitch Diageo, the largest spirits manufacturer in the world. And within their portfolio, they have Guinness beer, which I don't know about you, but to me personally, this is up there with the like Nike, Apple, Tesla in terms of power brands that I absolutely love. And to see a brand that's 250 plus years old that still has such heritage and cachet and draw, it's just, to me, it's just like an absolute dream. And we got invited to pitch their business. And it was interesting because when we saw what the ask was from the RFP, we said, you know what, we don't think that this is the real ask. And we shifted that and we said, here's your problem. And we came up with our kind of point of view as to where they stood and maybe where they were lacking within the marketplace. And honestly, based on my Sam Adams experience, we took a lot of those fundamentals where, if you think back to earlier in the conversation, it was a small microbrewery competing in a sea of imports. Now, all of a sudden, Diageo is in a declining import market, and these craft breweries are thriving. And we were able to take a lot of those fundamentals and really put that in place to actually build out programs for that brand. And I'm really happy to say that they've been a client of ours for the last 6 years. Could not be a more wonderful partner. It allows me to actually put Guinness on tap in the office so I could enjoy a pint after work every day.
I don't know how you did it, Jeff, but I don't think I've ever craved a pint of Guinness more in my life, even after going to Ireland. So I'm long overdue. No, that's so cool that you partner with them, and arguably more cool that they let you serve it in your office. Who knows? In terms of those activations, I mean, to put it in perspective, the one activation that I have firsthand experience with was back when I was on the Snuggle team. And along with the All team, we did at the Little League World Series the hashtag Dirt Free Dugout, which was really, really cool, really fun. And shout out Joe and Brooke again. There were tons of cool things kind of like under the tent and things that people could do as part of the activation. And there was, tech and data and fun infused everywhere. I think that one of the most memorable things is you guys built like a giant laundry basket filled with socks. Like it was like, I don't know, maybe 2 to 4 king size bed sizes. It was giant. So there might have been some fun with some people jumping in it back in the day. But that just kind of shows like you like to do things big scale. You like to do really, really breakthrough things. What are some of the most memorable activations that Inspira has put together in the past, just for you personally?
Yeah, you know what? We've had a chance to do a lot of fun ones. I mean, we had a client, Interstate Batteries, that was promoting the fact that heat is actually a bigger killer on batteries. But yet every TV commercial that you see, it's always that, that same scene. It's winter, the snow's falling, and the car is wah, 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 trying to turn over.
That was an amazing sound effect.
Yeah, Well, they said, hey, how can we get people out there and show that heat is the biggest killer? So what we did was we actually came up with an idea in the middle of summer. We did a partnership with minor league baseball, actually in the parking lots at these minor league baseball stadiums. We actually brought in 120 tons of snow. We actually made it snow, and we created a snow day like at these actual parks with a full sledding ramp and little, kind of, pop-up area that you could have snowball fights and build snowmen and such. We invited weathermen out who were actually, broadcasting live from there. But the amazing thing was it like 92% of all of the PR, they were hitting on the messaging points. Like the reason that they're doing this, the reason that they're making it snow is because this notion and around, batteries. So it's just kind of very visually arresting to see 120 tons of snow kind of dump down in this to actually kind of push that message. Things like that was fun. I mentioned before the Jeep, where, Jeep, we were able to really just completely reimagine how they were going to show up and activate at the X Games. And prior to us coming on board, it was very basic. It was, they had a really nice immersive setup. They were bringing athletes in that you could do meet and greets. They were creating premiums that they could, draw people in to give away. But when we looked at it, again, we did it through the ethnography lens of like really kind of thinking through who are the consumers that are at the, participants at the X Games. So when you really look at what the heritage and what the brand Jeep stands for, we really wanted to bring that sense of adventure into a footprint that could be activated at the X Games. So we actually hired a stunt crew. We went out and shot for 2 or 3 days in California, literally through deserts, through forests, through snow, through mud.
This is a James Bond movie, I think you're describing.
Absolutely. But the cool part is we actually shot it in complete 360 degree cameras in the middle of the X Games. Imagine it's like 20 degrees, it's snowing, wind chill 20. You would pop into this domed environment. We actually had heated Jeep seats that you would sit in. And then all around you through this 360 degree dome came this immersive 7-minute video. And it was, I say it's 4D because as the roof would pull back on the screen around you, we would be jetting in, wind, and it would smell like fresh pine needles because as you would see like from the pine trees, and people thought they were on an amusement ride. Their hands are up in the air and waving and they're like screaming and clapping, at the end of it. And so it was things like that where you really are able to take, again, such a powerful brand like Jeep and then look at a property as compelling and dimensional as the X Games and giving the creative direction, like, okay, guys, this is what you have to work with. What type of experience do we want to create for X Games consumers to experience the Jeep brand? And it just ended up like being, absolutely lights out. Even the premiums were cool where we let people choose their own adventure. So where's the place that you either like to go or you want to go on your next adventure? And we would pinpoint it on a map, and actually on a leather keychain, we would stitch out the coordinates on a keychain that you could almost keep as a reminder that this is either on your bucket or wish list, or it's just a kind of reminder of your happy place.
Now in my mental vacation, I can't decide if I'm going to take the first day driving a Jeep around or just having Guinness the whole time. I'm all riled up. I mean, that activation is so cool. I like how you use the word adventure because it truly is an adventure. And when you're at the X Games, which is already such an exciting and, I mean, literally extreme environment, and to be able to create something, put something together that, adds on top of that and allows brands and consumers to connect in a really groundbreaking way like that is I guess groundbreaking, just to, use the same words over and over again. That's actually something I noticed and was curious about back at Little League. When you see these activation sites, dozens of brands that all have their activations, and they're a big hit with consumers, but it's a highly competitive environment. How do you focus on creating activations and experiences that truly break through
That's one of probably the biggest challenge that we have, day in and day out. I think the first thing to do, and honestly, this is a lot of times one of the hardest things to pin down our clients with, is the first thing though is to establish, well, what does success look like? Because metrics are going to be different. Maybe for an automotive partner, it might be more lead generation based. For others, it's just more for net promoter score and consideration. For others, it might just be building people into database. There's a lot of different kind of goals. So we have to level set there, because we need to understand exactly what are going to be the metrics and measurement. We really do not go out and try to be clever for clever's sake. We really want to have purpose and a mission behind what we're doing and why we're doing it. At the same time, though, yes, we do push from the creative boundaries. So that's first and foremost, I think, is understanding at least kind of what success is going to look like. But from there, that is then the environment where we really talk here, try to lead with, I'd say, an empathic edge. We really want to empathize of being into the seat in the shoes of the participant at an event like Little League. Well, who are the people that are going there? Well, primarily it's the families of the kids that are playing, or maybe it's local people that are coming in, or people who are going in to support the team. What are some of the pain points? What are some of the elevations? What can we do to create that elevated experience? So once we're able to really, I think, walk a mile in their shoes and understanding that, it then allows the creative process to really kind of open up, where we can then kind of lean in to, again, establish, well, what does the brand stand for? What is the brand at its best? And then how can we kind of marry those two? So in something like Little League, where, again, it was a very cluttered environment, you might have had 10 or 12 different brands competing for attention there. It's then kind of our challenge to really kind of create something within the confines of the space that we can work within the budget parameters, create the most compelling and engaging experience that not only entertains the people that are coming through, but also reinforces what the brand stands for. And again, to really kind of create that stickiness.
And how do you create a giant laundry basket that is filled with just an ungodly amount of socks? I think that's always the biggest challenge.
So many socks.
I appreciate you sharing the perspective. I mean, these things don't just happen as a natural creative output. Obviously there's tons of research groundwork that goes into it. And when you look at Inspira and, the, as you said, business growth, some would say wild business growth over the years, what is the one tactic or strategy that has been most instrumental in growing your business?
I would probably have to default to what we've been able to build within our culture. I think when we really started this agency, I wanted to create an agency unlike no other. And it was going to be an agency, number one, that I'd be proud to work at. But I also really wanted to create something that people would be excited to come in every day.
Something where you could serve Guinness in the office.
Well, that was actually part of it, yes. But I really wanted to create an environment that people felt respected, that they felt valued, that it wasn't necessarily this hierarchical organization that only director level and above talk to clients. And it was just something that people could feel part of something bigger. We're very purpose driven, but we also are very results driven. So when you kind of create that environment that I think people feel valued and respected, it allows them to lean in that they're vested. Again, I don't like to grow for growth's sake. I like to grow just to keep stretching ourselves. When you have people who kind of show up every day that care as much as they do, that shows in the work. And that work then allows us to get more work from that. So we're able to organically grow and support maybe the current clients that we are. At the same time, it really kind of provides great case studies and examples that allows our new business efforts that clients can see what we've been able to accomplish and how we've been able to drive business results within different companies. So I think really it comes down to the people, not necessarily a tactic per se or a hack that we have for kind of gaining new business. I think it's really because our people care. They care a lot, and that shows up. And I think it really does go a long way.
Well, you have a ton to be proud about, and you've created a company and a culture where people really, really want to work. And it's not by any means the easiest thing in the world to do something like that. especially when you're growing and just so swamped with new clients and new projects. So, as Michael Scott said, the people. I've been practicing saying people for hours now. The people is what makes companies so special, and is what makes you and your brand or your clients so special. One way to highlight those amazing people is to create a podcast, to shine some light on the amazing things they're doing. Start a podcast, have some fun, and grow your brand. You can do all these things, but they do take a ton of time. That is where I come in. I will take the heavy-duty, minute details off your plate so you can stay focused on running your business. Email me at max@maxpodcasting.com to save time with your high-quality podcast. Now, back to Jeff, where we dive into the inspiration behind Inspira. Let's switch gears a little bit. Let's get to a segment on inspiration and creativity. And for you, I mean, I typically start off with creativity, but you are inspiration. Inspiration is in the name. Inspiration is such a big part of your life and the formation of your business. Can you shed a little bit of light on your daughter, Kennedy, and, I mean, you can't even put it into words, but the adversity, the challenges that she's faced and what she means to you?
Yeah, well, my daughter Kennedy is the reason that it's Inspira, and the reason she is the inspiration behind it all. My daughter Kennedy, who's now 20 years old, was diagnosed with a very rare form of cancer, spinal cord tumor, at age 2. And I will just tell you, to have that blow, it was devastating. You know, the internet wasn't what it was, and it really didn't have a very good prognosis. And watching your young child go through years worth of chemotherapy, physical therapy, occupational therapy, spinal cord tumor resections, seeing all of the effects from that is just really kind of test the limits from a father standpoint. But the most amazing thing to me was watching her at, a young kid, 6, 7 years old, this little bald head and leg braces. And she wanted nothing more than to get out there and just be a kid. She just wanted to be normal and get out there. And I talked to you before about having like all these ideas and shifts and thinking that, we're closest to the customer. Why do we have to wait for someone else to tell us what to do? But because of my daughter's situation, I felt beholden to insurance. And I really felt that I couldn't take a risk and start something new. But it was watching her just wanting to get out and play and be normal that inspired me. And I was like, here I am making all these excuses while I can't do that, when meanwhile she is battling the hardest battle of her life. And look at what grace and positivity and optimism that she's doing it. I honestly just got the courage from her to bring it up to my wife and share this idea. Kennedy is the inspiration behind it, and hence the name Inspira. And again, when you're creating a company out of scratch, it really allowed me to just dream what would be sort of that perfect company. So we talked before about sort of the people and the culture that we wanted to create. Well, philanthropy was one aspect of that. And I always felt like that was something that was missing in some of my past careers, was the opportunity to give back. When I learned that the hard way, that pediatric cancer funding for cancer research, I think pediatric cancer only gets 3 cents of every dollar raised. And so we made it our company's mission to put that at the forefront. So we're really happy to say that since we've been in business, 12 or 13 years now, we've given millions to help support that cause. Helps you get up every day knowing that you're making a difference in the world. And it's not just financial. I mean, we've really adopted Alex's Lemonade as sort of our primary charity, and we're able to give a lot of our thinking and ideas and creativity and resources and networks and connections, all to help further that mission. And then to even see it evolve, where we now lean into our people and say, hey, this is what I'm passionate about, but what charities are you passionate about? And since then, we've just been able to support just so many different wonderful local and regional initiatives and charities throughout. It just gives you a great feeling. It's just so awesome to show up with these people every day.
Thank you for sharing that. Kennedy sounds like pretty much the coolest person in the world ever. So it's just so inspiring, fighting back all the battles, how she's been such a massive inspiration for you and your family every day. And building this and inspiring you and clients to give back to good causes as well. I mean, it's just a whole range of amazingness there. What does philanthropy look like for you and clients today? Like, how often does it come up in activations that, a part of what we're doing should really, give back?
It's something that we try to push as much as we can. I think a lot of times it's not necessarily, I wish we could be doing more. I'll just say that. I think that, you've seen a really big shift, and this is from a business perspective, that, if given a tie, people will always lean into a brand that's supporting a particular cause. It's something that we try to push and try to get involved in. I think we're perfect for it because I think as we lead as an agency, just on our very roots and how purpose-driven that we are, when we have an opportunity to work on purpose-driven campaigns with brands and clients, it is phenomenal. I will say that we've also been able to, even just some of the initiatives that we do here, clients love leaning into causes as well, and even to our causes. So if we're even just, recently we did a school cleanup project that we kind of renovated a park and created a playground and ripped up plantings and planted beds and such. Not only did we have our employees show up to do the work, but clients showed up, former employees showed up, all kind of doing their part. It's just a really, really warm feeling that when that each day you're doing good in the world. It's just, I can't describe it.
Well, you did a wonderful job describing it for not describing it. So that takes a special talent. Let's get to a fan favorite segment called the Wild Business Shoutout of the Week.
The Wild Business Shoutout of the Week!
Wild Business Shoutout of the Week. This is where we talk about a creative marketing campaign or activation, for example. And I have a feeling that you might know, one or two of these in your time, but you did something really, really cool for Nat Geo, National Geographic, for Earth Day. Can you share what that was?
Absolutely. Well, let me first back up. Nat Geo, we've worked with for the last several years. Such an incredible organization. If you're not one of the 100 million followers on Instagram, you should, because it is talk about inspiration every day.
Yeah, their brand is shockingly cool.
It really is. It really is. So when the pandemic hit in March, I will say that our business came to a screeching halt. It was, as you can remember, March, April, it was sheer panic. No one was sure about how things were going to unfold. And we made a decision in the early stage, at first to not do a headcount reduction. Let's just kind of wait it out and see where we landed. And we had a lot of resources that were available. And we reached out to Nat Geo in Q2 of last year and basically said, hey, we've got some creatives, we've got some strategists, we've got some great account folks that have bandwidth. Is there anything that's keeping you up at night? Any wish list, anything you want us to work on? And we're going to throw it into what we call an Inspira lab that we can ideate around. And they said to us that they feel as if they should really be a significant player around the notion of Earth Day. And if we had just any ideas and thoughts on how that could, come to life. And it really led to, I think, one of the most compelling creative exercises that I've gone through in my entire career, where you had a chance to really dissect this wonderful, rich, beautiful brand like Nat Geo, the ceremony around Earth Day, and really how to just completely re-envision and reimagine how those two could come together. And I think one of the most amazing insights that we had was that, especially for the Nat Geo consumer, I think a lot of people look at Earth Day now as a day of obligation. It's like, today we recycle. Today we're gonna, make a pledge to do something. And we flipped that and we said, no, every day should be Earth Day. Let's shift it from a day of obligation to a day of celebration. And that was really the driving insight that just changed everything. And Nat Geo was recently became part of the Disney family, which then gave us so many different tools to work with. As we kind of we were able to just reimagine it. We came up with this platform called Planet Possible, came up with just a series of different ways of like, let's have Earth Day Eve, and why don't we use your Disney network to tap into like all these incredible artists and celebrities that could, we were just like ideating all of these different types of things. And we came up with like these great ideas. And then all of a sudden it just sort of went dark. We didn't hear from the client for a couple of months. And we said, okay, well, a couple of weeks, prior to it, we reached back out and saying like, hey, Earth Day's coming up, where'd you guys land? And we got to see several months of just ideation come to life through the most beautiful lens. It was everything from, Ziggy Marley and Willie Nelson and, My Morning Jacket, like Yo-Yo Ma, all of these people performing in outdoor, very kind of natural places. They held a concert on Earth Day Eve. They took our idea, which was this hashtag share your spot. What place, where do you really connect with nature? What was it, a past vacation? Is it a daily hike that you go on? Where is it? And, let's create this hashtag share your spot that could be amplified. We had ideas for a whole Spotify playlist. And then Disney even took it to new levels with, they actually had a DJ and producer J to G, who did like even an after party, a post thing on TikTok. So it's really was just so amazing to see kind of like some of the ideas and where we were just kind of imagining what it could become, to then actually see it transform and come to life. And it was just like, I've got goosebumps right now just thinking about it. It was just really just so fantastic to see the ways that they were to elevate it just through PR, through social media, through experiential. And again, although you couldn't have the live concert component, I think it provided seeds where this is going to be an umbrella campaign. It's going to be an evergreen one where they'll be able to use this platform for years to come. And not only that, it takes it out of maybe just celebrating Earth Day as a day, and now gives you opportunities to curate content throughout the given year.
And it is a celebration, like that insight you talked about, going from obligation to celebration. That was the vision. It really turned out, I mean, especially when you throw Disney in the mix and everybody from Willie Nelson to Yo-Yo Ma, like that, it's such a great way to celebrate, and there's so many different aspects to it. It just sounds like such a creative explosion, and so that's a really, really cool example.
As Ziggy Marley says, Mother Earth is our mother. There is no other. bad reggae accent. Sorry.
No, that was perfect. You read I was about to do the same. I wouldn't say that was unusual, but that was really freaking cool. Let's get to some unusual stuff. So pet peeves, quirks, weird talents. What is your biggest pet peeve?
Bad hospitality or bad experiences. I think because obviously having been trained in sort of live events, it's like every single touch point when thought through is there. And I really, one of my pet peeves is seeing experiences that are either inefficient, just missed opportunities, bad hospitality, bad service. It like I start cringing and dying on the inside.
Oh, no. No, that is a perfect pet peeve for your professional industry, just to use alliteration, but completely on brand. What about quirks? What's something a little bit quirky about your personality that your family or friends or clients, somebody calls you out for?
I don't know if it's a quirk. I two things. Number one, I will never back down from a challenge or an adventure, which has led me to probably some of the most amazing experiences in the world. And again, whether that's Jay Scott is from Alex's Lemonade Stand, is Alex's father.
Oh yeah.
He just said, hey, we should just run across the Grand Canyon. I was like, done, let's do it. And we ended up doing it. We raised $75,000 for the charity. It was the most like monumental experience. I've run 55 Ks and across in Iceland over glaciers, so anything like that, any challenge, I'm like, challenge accepted, I'm in. So that's one thing. But I think probably what most people say is they love the enthusiasm and inspiration. And apparently I'm very good at talking people into doing things and inspiring them and driving them.
I mean, I'm driving a Jeep as we record. I'm drinking well, not at the same time, but
not at the same time.
After I get back, I'm drinking Guinness. Yeah. And then what about, I mean, you just listed a bunch of them, so I'm going to challenge you to think of a new one, but what's a weird talent you have? Something that you have a knack for that, I mean, it could be like a party trick, but it doesn't have any impact on your business. It's just something that, hey, you're pretty good at.
Max, I'm going to show you in person my hidden talent of being able to pour the perfect pint of Guinness.
Oh,
my friend, we were talking about it will be the exact right from a head standpoint, the perfect small bubbles. And I'm working on how to actually autograph the shamrock, on top of it. So that might be down the road, but let's just start with the perfect pour.
Perfect. Count me in. Were you trained at the Poorhouse in Dublin?
I have studied there. Yes, sir.
There you go. That's your number one degree. Yeah. For anybody that gets that experience, that's, I mean, an unforgettable life experience there. But yeah, there's a true art. And maybe this is a pet peeve of yours, definitely a pet peeve of mine, but when you're at a bar and somebody just like pours Guinness the same way they pour any other beer, it's like, oh, what are you doing? There's an art to this. It's really frustrating.
Yes. And God forbid it's in the wrong glass, because that I'm just like, wait a minute, like, stop, I'm out. I can't do it.
Yeah. Like a Sam Adams glass. No, I'm just kidding. All right. Let's wrap up with some rapid fire Q&A. You ready for it?
Okay.
All right, let's get wild. What is an ultra distance running tip you have?
Hydration. Don't be afraid to pack some food. I'm a big fan of peanut butter and jelly sandwiches, believe it or not. It's the right mix of protein, sugar hit.
Are you talking while you're running?
Oh, yeah. I mean, look, some of these ultra runs are, it's several hours. So you need to, this is not something you're going to get by on just with a glass of water and a energy gel.
Oh my God. Now I'm exhausted as well. I'm really going to need that Guinness. Other than Guinness, we'll say, what is kind of the most exotic beer flavor that you've ever tried?
I'm going to dovetail on this. So believe it or not, something in our backyard, Guinness has actually established a brewery in Maryland. It is some of the most innovative brewmasters down there. If you go down to the brewery in Baltimore, they have anywhere from, I think it's maybe 20 to 30 different beers on tap. And they're literally just looking at it as almost a test kitchen. The people that come in and try it, they're actually like heat mapping which ones are the favorites. If it goes well, it then leads to a smaller production run, which they'll do locally in sort of that Baltimore area, then maybe Maryland. And then if it eventually will scale outwards, they have had some of the most exotic, hot, spicy chili flavor. I mean, you name it. It is something that will stretch your taste buds beyond belief. A short little day weekend getaway.
That sounds amazing. Not to shout out a different brewery. I mean, I have no ties to this brewery, but I got to experience with my girlfriend Dana and her family in Asheville, which is another phenomenal beer town. Wicked Weed has they call it the Funkatorium. It's like a separate brewery in addition to their main one there, where it's all sours. And I'm not a big sour fan myself, but it's like the perfect place to get a flight because you want to try out these. And there's like 90 plus different varieties. And there was like everything from like spicy ones to like gooseberry to all, I don't know, like berries I don't even know were berries. It's just really special when breweries can think outside the box and come out with things like that. But from the Guinness standpoint, like knowing the main beer that everybody thinks of with Guinness, it's really cool that they have brewmasters trying out stuff beyond that as well.
Yeah, it's really exciting. And I'm with you. I love sampling and kind of pushing the boundaries with it. But I will tell you, I always revert back to high quality ones in the stable. So Sam and Guinness are still two of my faves.
You don't like shitty beers? Are you kidding me? You and team come up with some of the most creative ideas out there. What is a quick brainstorming tip you can share?
We have through our company, not everyone's maybe quite as outgoing and probably obnoxious as I am.
More emphasis on the latter.
Yeah, we have a lot of introverts in the group. And so I think one of the most successful tips that we've done is we'll do ideation sessions, which are live, but then we also allow people to go back and think on their own. and come back at a later stage. Although I love sort of that room and the energy that you have, there are just some people that don't necessarily rise to the occasion. They need time to process. They need time to kind of think and do some of the best work. And I will tell you that a lot of the winning ideas and ones that we go to market with are actually from the people that aren't the loudest person in the room, that they actually have time to think through it on their own.
Yeah, that's a great point. Some of the most creative people out there are more just naturally introverted, and it's a different way than kind of like the extroverted and, or as you would say, obnoxious way of kind of like crash and burn thinking through things. And sometimes you just need that time to let things gel a little bit. And then finally, I'm big on the word exotic today. What is the most exotic location that you and team have been to for an activation?
So I'm going to go back to my early days at GMR. If you remember, there was a brand, again, I can't believe I'm doing everything beer here today.
No, this is actually ideal.
Okay, great. Molson Beer, from the land where ice was born. Do you remember that campaign? We actually did a concert for 75 winners, 200 miles inside the Arctic Circle.
Oh my God.
If you were to look on a globe, it literally is on the top.
I have chills, Jeff.
Yeah, we had to fly in, refuel in upper north territory in Canada. We landed on a runway full of ice. As soon as we deplaned, we doubled the population of the town. We had to get on Zodiac rafts and basically serpentine through icebergs to get on board this Russian icebreaker ship. And it ended up being a private concert of the Red Hot Chili Peppers and the Violent Femmes for 75 winners. That was definitely the most exotic.
Yeah, you couldn't make that up. That's like something from a dream.
It was wild.
I'll let it slide this time, but you did not realize that me getting chills was a pun. But it's okay. We'll give it to you.
I'm sorry.
We got to start over.
So good.
Well, Jeff, thank you so much. This has been amazing. So inspirational. So Inspira. Thank you so much. Just so cool and amazing and inspiring what you and team do at Inspira, and also just the amazing things on the personal side as well. Where is the best place for people to track you down, connect with you personally, as well as Inspira overall?
Yeah, listen, all my information is on the website. If LinkedIn is easier for you, please do that. I always make myself available and always looking forward to meeting up in person as well.
Perfect. Then last thing, final thoughts. The stage is yours. It could be a quote. It could be a Ziggy Marley impression or something. Whatever you want. Send us off here.
Okay. One of my favorite quotes. It's easier to pull back a stallion than kickstart a mule.
That just kicks ass. Thank you so much, Jeff, for sharing the Inspira story, your personal story, being so damn inspiring yourself. And thank you, wild listeners, for tuning into another episode. If you want to hear more wild stories like this one, make sure to follow the Wild Business Growth Podcast on your favorite platform and tell a friend about the podcast. You can also find us on Good Pods, where you can check out the podcasts I'm listening to, as well as many others. And if you want to learn more about podcast production, you can do so at MaxPodcasting.com. Until next time, let your business run wild.
Bring on the bongos!